I keep getting emails from people telling me to dismantle some of the arguments of this Thomas Sowell guy, and apparently he's one of the foundational thinkers of the right, and blah, blah, blah.
This video from Vosh, entitled "Is Thomas Sowell Really This Dumb?" always annoyed me. One is because of the nature of the video. Oh please Vosh, take down this conservative thinker, he's too powerful, dismantle him for us. And secondly, how desperate Vosh is to fulfill that request. I think these days Vosh is at least better faith and a bit more nuanced as he was back then, but the pedantry and the bad faith arguments in this video are kind of pathetic.
Into the mouth of the pollsters, as far as I can see.
Look at the leadership of the black community. Like most people, I have never seen a pollster.
He claims that the polls support him, and then he jokes about having never actually seen the polls. And they're clapping? That's oh, I mean, I don't actually look at the polls. Just like, oh, base so well, big brain.
Even though he said pollsters, not polls, and it's just a witty remark to say that the polls aren't representative. It's funny how you can argue against a static video from decades ago and still be the one to come out looking stupid. I wanted to do the same thing to one of their cherished heroes on the left, Noam Chomsky. And instead of reacting to a 10-minute video while giving my incisive commentary,
base so well, big brain,
I decided to give him a fair shot and actually read some of his work. In this case, Who Rules the World, published in 2014. Because unlike the left, who seem incapable of actually reading, I was just reading in a book called
Oh, you're a book guy too? I mean, you can read books, it's whatever, but like, I could kind of tell.
I actually wanted to read some of his work to know what his arguments are, to try and understand his perspective. I just wasn't very impressed by what I found. So please, Mr. Chomsky, please lecture us, please grandstand over us and tell us who these evil people are who rule the world. You'd never associate with any of those evil people, would you, Mr. Chomsky? You wouldn't maintain friendships with a convicted sex offender while fantasizing about his island, would you? There are two main themes that you'll see recurring throughout this book. One is that America and the West are evil. Everything that they do is bad, and they should be criticized for every minor mistake that they make. The second is that there's these evil, mysterious, powerful men, presumably donning suits and hiding in shadowy rooms, and they ignore the wants of the working class. An example of the former, he's very quick to label Ronald Reagan a terrorist, a murderer, a torturer. But when it comes to the dictators that he likes, like Hugo Chavez, he's nothing but praise for him in the book. Hugo Chavez, who tried to change the constitution to have himself rule indefinitely, you know, kinda like a dictator. The poor dictator was the object of mockery and insult throughout the West. Boo-hoo. But he praises Chavez for his warnings of the dangers of the overuse of fossil fuels, despite oil being pretty much their whole gross domestic product. Because Chavez is able to impress a bunch of woke idiot leftists by virtue signaling, meanwhile his government is diverting billions of dollars of public funds into Swiss bank accounts.
Climate change
was bad.
I agree with that.
The only time you'll find him criticizing the regime as corrupt and incompetent is when he's emailing his friend Jeffrey Epstein. In another section of the book, he recounts the outrage of the West when Russia shot down a plane over Ukraine, and compares it to when the US accidentally shot down an Iranian plane, implying that there's some kind of hypocrisy or double standard. He says Ronald Reagan blamed the Iranians for the disaster, and notes sardonically that there is no evasion of responsibility here, unlike the barbarians of the East. He goes on to criticize Dominic Lawson of the Daily Mail, and notes sarcastically, what more powerful evidence could there be for our nobility and their depravity? Well, yeah. Chomsky conveniently forgets to note that Reagan admitted and apologized for downing the plane, and the US eventually went on to pay reparations to Iran. That's a pretty stark contrast to Putin, who just denied that they did it, despite all the evidence pointing to them. He plays into the latter theme throughout the book, claiming that public opinion is dismissed by the elites. But Chomsky does the exact same thing when it comes to immigration in Europe. He's quick to dismiss public opinion that there are too many immigrants in Europe and side with his elite friends, saying that racism is probably more rampant than in the United States. The book has hundreds of citations, but he conveniently doesn't have one for this statement. Probably because European countries are often found to be the most tolerant in the world. He then goes on to compare Angela Merkel, a Nazi, for saying that multiculturalism had utterly failed. Despite the European public consistently polling to say that we're taking too much immigrants, Chomsky tells us to shut up and accept the agenda set by our elite politicians. Lest you be branded as a racist, of course. He really cares about public opinion until it, goes against his agenda. In one of the dumbest moments in the book, he compares the Charlie Hebdo killings, where Muslims murdered journalists because they drew a picture of Muhammad. And he compares that to NATO bombing, while at war, a Serbian television station that was issuing propaganda on behalf of the murderous regime. And NATO warned them in advance that they were going to attack the building so that they could evacuate people. So I guess the only point of comparison is that yes, in both cases journalists died. This is really fucking dumb. All in all, I do think this is a very good book. And I want to thank Chomsky for exposing all the elites who rule the world. Hey, what do you know? Nothing to see there. That just one time. Don't even think about that one. You weren't meant to see that.